Hey everyone, welcome back, y'all. It is August and it's a brand new season here on the Coach Replay Show. So we're super excited about it. I don't know about you guys, but we are. I am Cory Camp, host of the Coach Replay Show. And this year I'm super excited because Kim Ramadan, Dr. Ramadan, you may know her as, she joined us last season for a few things. She's one of my teammates here at Sibme, and she was awesome. She kind of sat in for me during my maternity leave and hosted a few shows, especially a super special one with her dad. Now she's full-time joining as a co-host. So it's not just me hosting this, she's co-hosting. There might be some episodes where it's just one of us, but yeah, Kim, you're here officially.
I am here.
Did you think at this time last year when we were getting started with season 3, remember I asked you like, hey, are you interested in doing the Coach Replay Show, being on the show? And you were like, nah, I'm good with that.
No.
And here you are.
Was like, nah, I don't think so.
Yeah,
but
she was like,
honestly,
that's your thing.
But it's been so fun. I don't think I really thought about how much fun it would be to talk to coaches and talk about the things that I really love about coaching. And I'm looking forward to this season too. There are a lot of things, and also being able to co-create some of this stuff. And I'm excited for what's to come. So yeah. I am happy to be here to stay.
Me too. It's still summer break here in the camp house. Yours is quiet. I know it's still summer for you, but yours is quiet. Mine's not. So, in true Coach Replay fashion, we might have a dog barking or some kids in the background.
We'll see what happens.
That's totally okay.
Yep.
So let's talk about today's episode. So today on the Coach Replay Show, we are talking about coaching roles and responsibilities. And we're going to kind of expand beyond just the coaches a little bit in this. But, this whole month is focused on coaches and leaders as they're coming back into the building, preparing for teachers to come back into the building, setting yourself up for success this month. So if you are back in office and you've got a little bit of time before teachers come back and join you, I think a lot of teachers are coming back in the next week or so. Some folks have already started school, so it's not just teachers back, it's students back. But our goal in this first kind of set of episodes this year is to focus on your role and some things that you can do now while things are a little quieter on your end before instruction begins to really set yourself and your teachers up for success. So we wanted to start first with just roles and responsibilities. Kim and I say a lot, like, what are we doing here? In so many words or more.
Maybe more.
Maybe more there. But, like, what's the purpose? And that's really why we wanted to start with this episode. So when we talk about your roles and responsibilities, y'all, we're talking about more than just your job description. So Kim, why do you think when we're working with coaching programs and individual coaches, why this is often a missing piece? They don't have they've got a job description, which is also super vague usually, but there's no kind of clear-cut roles and responsibilities that are shared with all the stakeholders. And why is that missing piece so important for them to kind of create and have?
Yeah, I mean, I think for many reasons. So most of the time there's a job description, maybe just HR has it and no one else really knows what it is. So I think that's an important place to start. What does your coach do? But I think what's really important, there's a couple of really important things about roles and responsibilities and making sure that those are clearly defined. Number one, the coach needs to know what they're doing. What is my role versus what am I not responsible for? And that includes coaching and then all the other stuff that can be on their plate. But there also needs to be a clear definition between, am I evaluating teachers? Am I not evaluating teachers? I've been in both cases and it can get real sticky. And if people don't know, then it creates confusion. So I think like Brene Brown, clear as
you
kind.
And I were both thinking right in that. I was just about to say, it's clear as kind. Yeah.
You have to know as a coach what your job is. You got to start there. Your principal, your administration needs to know what your role is. And also the teachers need to know what your role is. And if
Yeah.
everybody's clear on that expectation, that's a good place to start. If they're not, it's a recipe for disaster, really, for the rest of the year.
Yeah. And this is where a point of confusion and frustration usually come October or, later in the year hits, right? Like as coaches start going into classrooms or expecting to go into classrooms or are expected to go into classrooms, any of those three scenarios, we hear from either those who are leaders within a coaching program or organization that, their coaches aren't spending the time doing the things that they feel was most valuable for them to do, or from coaches, really a lot from coaches. We hear, that's great. I'd love to be able to do a full coaching cycle. I'd love to be able to do this and do that, but I don't have time. I'm pulled here. I'm pulled for this. I'm pulled for that. My admin's asking me to do this. There's a disconnect between what central office has told me and what my campus has asked me to do. And they kind of feel kind of torn between those things. So having clearly defined roles and responsibilities is a proactive way to mitigate that frustration as the sense of urgency to support teachers and the stakes start to raise as we begin understanding who our students are, what their needs are, and then as a result of that, what those teachers need to be able to meet those needs. And the coach comes in heavy into that role, but if we aren't clear in our roles and responsibilities, it really is about kind of setting those expectations for what can you expect from me and what can I expect from you in this. And this isn't just coaches, right, Kim? This is also what if we are working in a coaching partnership, Kim and I, and Kim's the teacher, what's Kim's role and responsibilities in this learning partnership? Because that's really what it is. So it's not just about, hey, I'm the coach on the campus, here's the roles I've been assigned, but really thinking about how does this all fall into what we're going to be doing together? And if I do this, what are you doing? What's the principal's role in the coaching partnership? So I think just, again, clear as kind. It's a great way to kind of summarize that. And I see that again, right behind you.
It's right there. Yeah.
It's perfect. It's perfect. It's too hot in my office, which is a seasonal sunroom. So I am not there and I just get the things you expect to see in our house. So there's a really great resource, and Kim, I know you recommend it a lot, possibly because you hear me recommending it a lot, and we just turn to this all the time in our work with coaches and leaders over the past few years, which is from one of my favorite books that you don't always find on coaches' bookshelves or leaders' bookshelves. But we had one of the authors join us at the end of last season, which was super exciting. Kim and I were fangirling it up. And that's creating a culture of reflective practice. That's the book that we use in some of our leadership work in the cohorts that we do. And there's a really,
next to me.
She's got it right next to her. I love it. You can always count on Kim or I, or both of us, to have one of these great books that we always reach out to. Arm's reach. So there's a really good page in one of the early chapters of that book that I always lean to when I'm talking with programs or coaches about, all right, so it's more than my job description. What is it? Like, how do I know if I need it? I think it's clear. I clearly understand what my roles and responsibilities are. Do I really need to have like a document or, share that? And how clear is everybody? So let's take a look at these questions. Kim took a screenshot or a snapshot of her
and it's
book
underlined.
here.
It's underlined.
It's all underlined.
I feel like it's
Look
important.
at that.
So
I love that. She's like all teachers.
All teachers. So look at my underlined text and tell us what you think.
There you go.
But yeah, I mean, all teachers, anyone, you can replace teachers with anything.
Everyone in this building
should be able to answer these questions. And if they can't, then you haven't clearly defined your roles and responsibilities. You got to go back and do that.
Yeah.
And perhaps in October, you have to ask this question again. In January, you have to ask these questions again, because I think that those roles also might shift a little bit as you get through the year, especially if we have new coaches and new programs. So I don't think it's like we figure this out in August and we're done. I think that you have to come back. But why do you have a coach? What's the goal? That might be different with each teacher, and that's okay. You might have some school-wide, district-wide expectations, but that may not always be exactly the same. But does everybody know the goal? You know, what's the coach's goal? How can a coach support growth? What are some ways to connect? How do I know? How do I get a hold of a coach? What do I do if I have a problem? We're going to talk a little bit next week, I think, about scheduling and all of that kind of stuff. So just a teaser there for you. But, and then, I mean, this last bullet is so important. Will the coach contribute to my formal evaluation? You know, there are people that do this in different ways, and we're not here to say one way or the other is better. It creates a different relationship when a coach is responsible for evaluating a teacher. And so what does that look like, and how do we still maintain trust if they're not evaluating? And what I might add here is like, what's the conversation between the coach and the administration about my work? Is there, because that also can go into, we're going to talk about also relationships later, but building relationships, but that can also be an important question that might be on the mind of teachers and might need to be established.
Yeah. And what I love about these questions is these are like, you can imagine an individual going, you know, let's say there's a new coach. Maybe it's a new position. Maybe it's just a new person in the position. And these questions are maybe running through some folks' heads. Like, why do we even have a coach? Like, I didn't see my coach at all last year. Or, you know, we're all veteran teachers here. Why do we have a coach? Maybe, you know, is the question. Or, you know, maybe what's the district's goal in giving us a coach? How is this person supposed to function within the community of our building? But that last one, as you said, is such a barrier sometimes. The perceived answer to that is often a barrier, right? So whether the coach contributes to it or not, if you are, you know, seen with campus administration, those who are responsible for your formal evaluations on the campus, then there starts to be this, well, they talk about something at lunch or as they're walking through the hallway or as they're across from offices. So I'm sure, is it me? Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Somebody came by and they said, hey, I heard that lesson was great. What else do they know? Right. So it's really important to think about all of these questions. You know, you might even send these out in a survey and say, hey, like, let me know what you think about coaching. What's your perception of coaching on our campus? Respond anonymously to all of these questions just to get a good idea. And here's the kind of test that they recommend in the book is if all teachers, or I like to say all individuals, like if your campus principal can't answer these questions clearly and confidently, and the answer is not the same as yours. So this is also one of those, like if I say 2 + 2 is, and someone goes 5, quickly and confidently doesn't necessarily mean it's correct, then this helps us understand where we might need to calibrate a little bit and where we might need to clarify. So I really like these questions. If you have existing roles and responsibilities, you feel like you've clearly identified those and shared those, it's been a while, or maybe you just want to see, like, are people hearing it? Are they seeing the message, hearing the message appropriately? Is it sitting the way that we hope it would with folks? And if not, then maybe you've got some work to do in one or more of these areas. And that might be something you want to focus on this year. That might be something that you set as a personal goal this year as a coach, is to really get clear with these. I also love, Kim, that you talked about how the answers to these can shift, right? Fundamentally, there should be a core response to it. But, you know, things like, you know, my goal in working with teachers, maybe there's a couple of goals in there. You know, there's the individual's teachers learning that, you know, my goal is to support a teacher in their own professional growth and learning. But I also am responsible for making sure that we get PBIS off the ground, or, you know, some district priority, you know, might also be a secondary goal that we have. And then thinking about how those function. So they might change, right? Or you might learn something new as a coach that might change how you support the growth of your teachers as professionals, or how they could connect with you. So definitely think about these answers in a little bit of kind of it's okay to shift them as they go, but how are you going to communicate that, right? Is the next key thing.
Exactly. And we'll put them in the takeaways so you have access.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, we'll put the link to the book in the notes and takeaways, and then we'll put these questions. But it's a great book around just in general, that reflective piece. Again, that last question, how does this coach going to contribute to my formal evaluation, is important to support that psychological safety. Now, let's talk about the circumstance where there might be multiple people who have overlapping roles when it comes to kind of coaching or supportive teachers. How do, maybe we've got a campus-based coach and a literacy coach or a coordinator, or somebody else that's going to be involved in supporting teachers in a similar way of the coach. Maybe it's the campus admin. Maybe they put that coaching hat on from time to time. This doesn't have to be just my role and then the roles of others as we function in that. It can also be, how do we support them? So I really like this Stephanie Affinito. She's been on our show before, and she's a peer colleague that we kind of lean to, Kim and I both sometimes. And she introduced me to this particular journal article, which I really liked. And she talked about this kind of matrix. So let me drop this into a full page width. So here we see a literacy coach, and then a literacy coordinator, supervisor, and then even a reading literacy specialist. So what I don't want you to take out of this is just, people in ELA need to do this. But anytime you again have overlapping roles, this might be campus admin and the campus coach and the content coordinator within the district. Thinking about how they've organized theirs by domain. So how do each of these individuals contribute to professional experiences, the knowledge of skills of literacy, the knowledge of change processes. There might be some overlap across these, but this is also really helpful. I love doing a matrix like this because sometimes what keeps somebody from reaching out for support is they don't know who to reach out to. There's multiple people with literacy in their title. So which one do I reach out to? Just the person I'm most comfortable with, or who's actually the right person? And a matrix can kind of help do that for you too, I think, right?
Yeah. I mean, I like that there are different domains, professional experiences. Not everybody, even in literacy and no matter what, has the same exact expertise, I guess you would say. And so it's really important to identify those and say, okay, if I really need support with developing routines and procedures in my classroom, I might go towards this person for support. And that might be, I don't know, like a MTSS coordinator or whatever, somebody else that's in that building. If I need help with literacy, I might go to the literacy person. If I need help. So just to kind of know where everybody's expertise lies and where you should go for what. That was one of the questions on the previous example was, who do I go to for what support kind of thing. And so this kind of helps answer that question where it might be confusing. And it's not just the person that I'm like buddy with, but really the one that's going to help my growth as a teacher the most. They need to know who that person is. And they're not going to know unless there's a document like this. And there's also creates clarity.
Exactly. And this one in particular, this example is showing us, what does this person bring in regards to their previous professional experiences, their knowledge and skills of literacy, but it could also be what can they do for you, right? So like, what is this person, like, what are their credentials is what we're seeing on the screen, but it could also be, how does this, it could be answering those questions. And then how does your literacy specialist support this? How does the literacy coach support this? How does this coordinator support this? So again, thinking about, there's different ways that you can kind of convey that information, knowing your audience and the questions that they maybe have. Like if you get that question, like I get that we've got all these people, but I'm not sure who to reach out to when I have this question, then maybe that needs to be something that you add into your resource, right? And then this might go on a web page somewhere or in an email newsletter. It's got to kind of stay somewhere, but also be put out there a couple of times as you're sharing it out and getting the word out to everyone. So let's look at an example of what this can look like. And I would love to see your examples. If you've got some, post them maybe below. Feel free to send them to us. You can always email us your ideas, your questions, your feedback for our shows by emailing us at learn@sibme.com. We'll drop that in the chat, but here it is on our screen for you. So thinking about what this looks like, I want to pull an example from our own virtual coaching program here. And here is why I really like this, because this gives us a good idea of everybody's role and responsibility when it comes to the virtual coaching partnership. And this is specific to Sibme, but you might have, one that you create for your campus or for your district, right? This can be created at a few different levels. But I love that this includes the teacher, like I talked about before, right? So what's the teacher's role in the coaching? Like these are the two primary people, the virtual coach and the teacher, but there's also, the leadership for the virtual coach because they're an outside entity. And then the teacher's leadership individuals, their supervisor, what their roles are, and how will they all communicate together. So Kim, you've done some virtual coaching in our team more recently than I have. As you're sharing this information out, like where does that come in the coaching partnership? And do you get questions often about this, or do you think it helps them understand what they're about to do with you as you embark on your partnership together?
Yeah, I think so. Allison Burnett, who's the director for our coaching program here at Sibme. So we really do have Sibme virtual coaches and we have teachers, and in some cases we have coaches that we coach as well. I think those conversations exist a few times. It happens in the very beginning when Allison's meeting with leadership. It happens when there is typically a meeting with coaches that we're working with. So it happens again there. And then usually it happens again with the virtual coach and the teacher together. So there are a few times, especially early on, that these roles are kind of discussed. And I think that's really important because, it might be discussed with that leadership at the school level. That teacher also needs to know what's happening and maybe hear it a couple times so there's a chance to digest and then ask questions and make sure that we're on the same page. So I think what's great about this is that there's clarity around what that coach is going to do, what that teacher is going to do, the supervisor's role, which is not to come in. And the purpose of all of this is not to evaluate that teacher at all. It's for growth. And so that should be clear through this, but the supervisor is not necessarily, getting access to all the stuff and like able to use that for evaluation. And that's clear in this because there are roles for each person. And I think that's super important.
Yeah, again, and so this is the right time of year if you're a campus or district-based coach to not only develop these, but to share these, right? So making sure that you share it out and I don't know, Kim, I've got a few ideas for how folks could share these out. For example, I like welcome videos. We'll talk a little bit more about those when we talk about building relationships, but just to introduce myself, to welcome folks back to the year. If I was a campus or district coach, I would maybe put that in a newsletter or just a general email out to everyone, letting them know, who I am if they're new to the organization and how I plan on supporting them. And then I'd attach this, right? Like have this as part of it. But what you said, I'd also bring it to the first time I meet with a teacher, right? Make sure I point it out and I'm kind of pushing them back to kind of the document that we've created.
Yeah. And I almost see this as like a contract, right? Like it's not that the person has to also agree whether you're coaching a teacher, whether you're coaching a coach, that person should have the opportunity to say, yeah, I agree with this. I'm on board, or can we adjust this, or have a question about this? There should be a mutual agreement on these roles and responsibilities and an opportunity to ask questions and make sure that and so one-on-one, I think for sure is definitely a way to go. There might be an introduction of this in some way, shape, or form before that. But I think that one-on-one conversation is really important. Again, creating trust, again, being clear. So there isn't any confusion. When I come into your room, this is how I'm going to enter. Is that okay with you? This is what I'm going to do when I'm there. Are you comfortable with that? I'm not a coach that's going to sit in the background. I'm going to be kind of in the mix. And are you uncomfortable if I ask you a question in the middle of your instruction? Like, those are all things that you need to figure out with the person that you're with. And they have to have the opportunity to say, I'm not comfortable with that,
Right. Right.
So I think developing these roles, making sure there's clarity, is important in a one-on-one conversation, I would think.
Yeah. And I love that you kind of added that extra piece. Is it does open the door for conversation and even building some relationships and kind of just setting further expectations for, all right, we've got these general parameters set for kind of our roles and responsibilities when it comes to your learning. But let's talk about how we want to function then together within these, what works for you, what type of learning preferences do you have, those types of things. So
exactly.
So you can access some of these resources that we've kind of shared on our screen and our tips. Again, it's thinking about these roles and responsibilities as going beyond the page of your job description and making them public. So they're visible and clear to all stakeholders in your building and organization. And there's some guiding questions that you can use. There's maybe more out there. There's more examples, but we gave you a few of them from one of our favorite books, Creating a Culture of Reflective Practice, and from our own virtual coaching program here at Sibme. And if you've got multiple people who are in the business of supporting teachers' growth, in addition to yourself, then maybe creating a matrix so teachers know who's responsible for what area of their growth and support and who to reach out to and when. So next week, we'll talk, Kim, about schedules, your coaching schedule, being able to kind of manage and look at the coaching activities that you tackle on a day-to-day basis, how all of these roles and responsibilities start to play out in the form of a calendar, and even maybe offering a coaching menu to help build those. So I'm excited about that. But as always, y'all, you can download the notes and takeaways at learn.sibme.com. So questions or ideas for us, or if you've got a specific scenario you want to make sure that we talk about this season, it's just the beginning, y'all. Be sure to email us at learn@sibme.com and share those with us. And don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to us on social media. So, Kim, thanks so much. It's exciting to be back on this platform with you
and
have you officially here for the long haul. Do you even know what you signed up for?
No, certainly did not, but I'm here for it. So thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next time.
All right. See you all next time. Bye y'all.